Welcome back to Hoffman Tactical. So today's video I want to be talking about this lower receiver right here, which is a very early prototype, kind of like this upper actually, sort of. So this is the Lima 6 belt fed upper. I have a whole video I did talking about just the upper, and I'm doing actually another video talking about just the lower, but more design process focused. In this video I want to talk about kind of our findings today. We just put 600 rounds on this lower. We're down here with Pseudo Solutions. Aaron Shadow Moses, this is old handle. I did some work with him a couple years ago, if anybody remember that. So first of all, the main goal of the project is to give us a dovetail down here. So something to attach, like this is the Tribe Tactical Supply. They sent me one of these 100 round sacks, which is what holds your belt. And we have a dovetail. I'm trying to get the dovetail absolutely as high as possible on the lower to keep the belt feeding path as short as possible. So if I put this in here, I turn it around so you can see it, the belt feeding path is really short, which is what we want. Minimizes the risks of gems and other problems. So that's actually worked quite well. I really like that. I've also played around with the shape and geometry of it so the belt sack is actually properly centered. So when it's on the gun, it's all balanced and everything. It's not off to one side or anything like that. To do that, I had to break the lower up into two pieces. So this forward section here prints on its side actually, so that the layer orientation is proper for correct strength of the dovetail area, and that still needs more work, but it actually has worked pretty good. It's got two screws here, crudely bolting it together as you can see, but it's just a prototype. The rest of the lower is actually a conventional print orientation on the bottom of the pistol grip like all my other lowers, and we've got a couple support ribs on the sides here, which have held up really well. So that is kind of the basic rundown here. There are a couple compromises we've made. One of them is there's no last for bolt hold open, which doesn't work with the Lima 6 anyway, but the bolt hold open does work. If you have a catch here, it can help lock the bolt open for putting mags in. I don't have that. It's definitely inconvenient. You might need to add that. I left it out for structural reasons because it's a big cut in the lower. So that's going to require some thought to figure that out. Secondly, this is not compatible with standard mil-spec selector switches. It's pretty much push button only, so that means super safety. Obviously, I mean, you want to use it with a super safety regardless, just because it's a belt-fed upper. But that allowed me to drop the support ribs down further, which made it easier with this super wide upper. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the upper off of the lower. Okay, so there's the lower removed, and you can see the innards. Look how dirty that is. It's full of oil. We did actually have the upper slow down at one point, and I just oiled it. The gun needs lubrication. It kind of gets sticky at times, so that's the one thing we've been kind of working through, trying to figure out exactly what's causing that on the upper. It's got to have oil on it, so we've been keeping it well oiled, and it's so filthy in there with the can. Total side note here, separate from the upper, but we've got the Huxworth flow-through can on here, which is actually been working really good. It doesn't seem to affect the function of the upper at all. And the blowback wasn't horrible, but I'll talk about that in a second. But it was cool. It's so quiet having that. I hope that shooting in the background is not horrible. It shouldn't be, but we'll find out when we edit this. So a few notes here. First of all, the inside of the upper is totally conventional. Like this pocket in here is exactly the same as the SL15. Fully super safety compatible. That's all totally normal. However, there's almost no components on this. So all we have is the front takedown pin, rear takedown pin, and fire control group. There's no magazine catch. There's no last for bolt hold open, and any of that. So the whole middle section is just like solid plastic. It's kind of funny. So the support ribs, super wide because the Lima 6 upper is super wide. And this brings to the first thing we discovered today, which is gas. So I was hoping that having the support rib here would keep the gas. If you look at the upper, this is where the gas key is. And the gas key is where a lot of your gas comes out, that area. And this support rib is actually acted as a deflector to deflect it up into your face. It was horrible. It was way worse than the mil-spec lower. So that is going to require some thought. You can even see the black area here where that is getting all sooty and carboned up. So the plan I'm thinking about is I can actually make this support rib a lot closer to the upper because this is a dedicated lower just for this one upper, so I don't have to keep clearances. So this I think has a 50 thousandths clearance. I don't need to do that. I can bring it way down super tight. That'll help seal it up more, and then I can add a vent tool or something to try to get the gases vented out and maybe even add a little hood up on top. So that is going to require more thought, maybe even a rubber piece that goes in there. I don't know. Definitely needs more thought there. The second thing was the takedown pin orientation. So right here, I put the takedown pin on the left-hand side like I normally do. And the reason we do this is because on all of our lowers, the rib is, in order to avoid the forward assist over on the right-hand side, the rib is here on the left-hand side. So I put the pin head over here so that that big hole doesn't cause a weak area. So over here, without a rib, it causes a weak area. However, this is a double rib, so that doesn't matter. That argument is invalid. And secondly, the right-hand side is actually much slimmer. If you look at that, it's much slimmer there than it is over here on the left-hand side. So it makes a lot of sense to take this pin and flip it over here, which will make loading, which will make taking that pin out and putting it in much easier because the head won't be so recessed. So that's the note I made today as well. So we'll probably want to swap that pin and then this pin as well, just for consistency's sake. So there's not too much going on here. It's kind of funky looking because it's so wide, but it's been working really good. That's about 600 rounds that we put on this, and it's really held up well. So I've been impressed, and that's actually just PLA Pro. So I was worried it would melt up front here because this is so close to the chamber and it gets really hot. We did 200 rounds in one session, was the most we did before letting anything cool down. So just one full 200 round belt, and it actually never melted up front. So that was super cool. But overall, this lower is going to require lots more thought. Obviously, I actually already cut my finger on it once. These little screws are super sharp. Like, this is not refined at all. There's a lot of refinement which needs to go into this, a lot of thought. But as an initial first take at it, it actually works quite well, and we'll see where it goes. This is something we'll definitely be releasing once it's finished as a 3D printed option for the Lima 6. Last thing I want to touch on is no last round bolt hold open, or no bolt catch, because in this case there is no last round with the belt. So there's no bolt catch, which makes the menu of arms a little bit tricky. Typically the way this guy works, because there is no spring-loaded plunger right here for the cam follower, you lock your bolt carrier to the rear, you put the belt in, you slam the tray. Now, I did not put it on here for structural reasons and because I'm kind of rethinking that process. What I like to do is I like to have this bolt closed when I'm putting the rounds in, because I want to have the feed tray, basically the situation I want when I load the gun is I want to have the bolt closed, no round in the chamber, but I want the belt there. So when I rack it, it'll put a round in the chamber. That way I can have the gun basically ready to fire, except I've got to rack it once, so I can keep it in the car trunk or whatever, and it's ready to go all the time. So what I'm thinking we can do, what we're doing right now actually is kind of tricky. I'm laying the belt into the feed tray right here, and then I'm closing the door on it and pushing it down, kind of just holding it there, and then I'm pulling this back until it pops down and closes. It's kind of a weird little thing. Once you actually get it worked out, you can do it pretty easily without any bolt catch. But I think what we want to do long term is put some sort of a push button on this to just force this feed tray over so that we can close it on a closed bolt. So don't make this complicated and spring loaded. Just put a little button here so we can press that button and slam it shut. I think that'll be the best option. I'm going to play with that, but I'm really thinking that a bolt catch is not going to be the best solution long term. And I may actually just leave that off if we get that solved up here on the feed tray.